This is the 8-9 Combo Podcast with Brett McKay and Harry Jones.
This is the 8-9 Combo. I'm Brett McKay and Harry Jones. Mate, when was the last time we both came off test wins into a podcast week?
I like how you make that sound like that's an oddity for me. Yeah, we were just waiting for you guys to win. It's been a while. You're right.
Dragging you down to my level, I was, yes.
That was artful questioning, I must say. It was almost like you were a lawyer. How's it, man? I really had a good time going to the game and getting out of there. Let me just say, when you go to Ellis Park, you go into some sort of like Dante's Inferno levels, and you just keep going and going and going. And at some point, you literally are looking around and going, I wonder if we're in the right place. And right then, my driver was, kind of stopped. We're wondering if just let me out. A car pulls up next to us. Two guys roll down their windows and they go, "How's it, Harry?" I was like, "I've arrived. I'm in the right place.
I'm in the right spot." Yeah, well,
it was quite the scene, man. I just want to say something about your win, though. If you follow Aussie rugby and you really have gone through the depths and the dungeons and the dregs, that had to just make you feel like unbelievable. Like, what was that feeling? That old missing feling of actually coming back from was 0-10 and then 7-16, and you managed to come back.
Yeah. I've got some thoughts on that, which I might just put a pin in, and we'll come back to very shortly because, it was different. It was a different feeling. So we'll park that. Well, I'll come back to it. It's episode 30 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby podcast, and we are really, really pleased to be brought to you throughout the Rugby Championship by Chasing the Sun 2, the fantastic 5-part all-access series documenting South Africa's memorable 2023 Rugby World Cup win, and which is coming soon to Rugby Pass TV worldwide. Simply head to rugbypass.tv. Sign up for free, and you can watch the first series, from 2019 already. And it's just great to be partnering with Jack and the guys at TNW, mate. We've really enjoyed this.
Love those guys, and I love the way they bring story to rugby in a way that's joyous, and we're not always just talking about bitter rivalries and which TMO did this and that. In the end, it's about the players. Rugby is about the players, not the coaches, not the refs,
and it's about what the game makes you feel ultimately, which we will get onto because it is time to start the rugby week with cheers and jeers from the weekend. And my cheers for you, mate, is to pick up your earlier point. It's the incremental steps that the Wallabies are definitely making. And for me, that moment that they in the past, when the Wallabies shelled a line break opportunity like Max Jorgensen's there in the 77th minute or so, and I've written about this for Rugby Pass this week. In the past, Wallabies teams would have gone, well, that's that done, and they would have lost the game.
Yeah.
This Australian team, though, from the clearing kick out, they mauled from outside the 22, inside the Argentinian 22, shifted to midfield, pick and drive. Rob Valentini gets them to 5 meters out, and they played with patience and they forced an error to win the game. And I watched that and I thought, wow, this is coming from a young team with not a whole lot of experience as a collective group. That's really, really encouraging for the future going forward. So that's how it felt, mate.
Yeah, when you look at a new coach, sometimes you're looking for personnel shifts or game style. And there's another component, which is spirit, resilience. And I think that's the two teams that won on the weekend showed that in abundance. Good cheers. My cheers, I have two quick ones. One is someone who made a comment on our YouTube, because we're YouTubers now. And it was I think it was mysteriously, I think he was named McKay, not McKay 1023. And he said, Harry didn't listen to the thoughtful questions by Brett. And I'm like, mofo, I was in a war zone next to a cop car. People were tackling me. There was a lady wearing a sea captain's hat who decided to try to remove my shorts. I had a hard time listening. I couldn't even hear myself think.
In your defense,
in
your defense, I don't think you heard much of that post-mortem. I'm genuinely surprised we got through it all, and it did unfortunately take a couple of takes. But anyway,
my other jeer is about the importance of knowing surnames from countries you're not from. And I'll just say this: My friend, once upon a time, I found myself in a Mexican jail. And it was much more heller on earth than the surroundings of Ellis Park. And I was hoping to get out, and I was just looking forward to that day. And they said, tomorrow around noon, we release you in alphabetical order. And I thought, Jones, perfect. The averages favored me being right in the middle. I think I'm the 10th letter of the alphabet. Oh my. Garcia, Garza, Gonzalez, Gutierrez. I was praying. Before that, there was Castañeda, Castillo. And I'm like, holy cow, can someone get me out of this? Finally, we got to the J's. I go, Jones has got it, because there's never a name before Jones except for James. Jaramillo, Jimenez. I'm like, oh my God. There wasn't a Bosch, though.
Were you followed just by Zulu or something like that?
There was no one behind me. It was Montoya and Martinez, and then I was out.
That was it. It's the week. It's the week between Los Pumas Wallabies test, and there's so much to talk about from the weekend's game. So, what better time to bring back another favourite guest? He joins us in just a moment. Joins us right now, in fact. We loved speaking to this week's guest over the last 2 years, and he was a name we wrote very high on our list of guests that we would definitely want to bring back when we did kick off the 8-9 combo. It wasn't last week, as originally planned, ironically enough, but we are so pleased to welcome back former Los Pumas center, now ESPN commentator, and the official Argentinian friend of the pod, Marcello Bosch. Hello, mate. Welcome back.
Hello.
Brett, Harry, always a pleasure. It's been a tough weekend for us, but, well, we have another game next Saturday. How are you guys? All good?
Yeah, we're very well. I must say...
You seem very happy. I don't know why.
I do say thank you for coming up, mate. A lesser man would have politely declined this week. I mean, in the same moment that I was really, really pleased to see the way the Wallabies won that, the opposite would also have been true for you. In that moment, you would have been thinking, oh, I can't believe they've done that.
Yes, I agree. It was, if Argentina won, I think it was okay as well. But Australia, for me, they deserved it in a way because they proposed a lot with ball in hand. Argentina, I believe, they were very good defensively, most of all at the beginning of the game. Australia had possession. They were very patient as well.
Yeah.
They went through a phase of almost 25, 27 phases, and Argentina keeping very disciplined in defense. And in the two opportunities they had in the first 20 minutes to score points, they scored a penalty, they scored a driving maul, and suddenly it was 10-0. But Australia was the team that was proposing more with ball in hand. But I see some changes already in that team, which I like. You can tell that Joe Smith is already putting hands on the team. And, well, at the end, you got patience and you could win the game in the last minute.
Yeah. And that's, Harry, really encouraging to hear someone outside Australia and outside New Zealand, I suppose, knowing Joe Schmidt as well, saying, we can definitely see this Wallabies team is different to what we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, living a life on rugby where I've been interlinked with Australian mindset, I've always thought that the one thing that was missing was not the physique, it wasn't the pace, it wasn't the passion. It was about poise. It was about patience. It was about having the presence of mind instead of just trying to heap more, which, passion can sometimes get you carded. So just being able to finish. And I thought in both matches, it was the team who came from behind and kept their head in the final 20 that won. Yeah. And it couldn't have been more stark to look at two teams that really should have won. Argentina and New Zealand had the game in hand, 16-7 and 27-17.
27-17, yeah.
In test rugby, you'd say, we can take it to the house. Cello, what do you, like from Argentina in the past, there's been about that too, too much impatience and trying to do too much. It almost seemed like the opposite. They were trying to finish the game before it was finished, just, stop playing.
Yeah, totally. You could see an Australian team, I don't say with more experience, because when you see the sheet, it doesn't have more experience than Argentina, but still at the end, you could see more patience in some of the key players. Albornoz, that is the replacing 10, he's a player that, of course, he's willing to play a lot, and he wants an opportunity from the start. And at the end, that little chip, when you have the advantage of an Ocon, of Coroibete, in the opposite field, and you try that in that moment, at that time, of course, when you see the space, I don't know if it's a bad decision, but it's the moment in time when you do that. And that created a counterattack from Australia. You could go to the opposite side. Therefore, you won the ball once again. And with patience, you drove pick and goes up to the 5-meter line, and you created that penalty. So you could see a more mature team at the end in Australia. And I believe that because of that, you won the game.
Yeah, and that's exactly that that composure that I speak of. And you would have seen many an Australian team, even in Argentina, in that same sort of situation, they've not been able to get back into a game, or they've not been able to close out a game like that. And so, yeah, it is really pleasing to see. So I guess the question for you then, Cello, is what's changed in the Pumas from 3 weeks ago in Wellington to now? They just seem like completely different teams.
Well, we are always talking about consistency in performance. Yeah. You can win or lose games, but we want to see an Argentinian team with consistency in the sense of how they play, because they beat New Zealand in the first game. Of course, New Zealand gave away too many mistakes, and Argentina were clinical to take them and to score 4 tries and to beat New Zealand away, which is always tough. So the next weekend for Argentina was, well, we need to have consistency once again, because every time Argentina won in New Zealand, the next game against them once again was always very tough. Always very tough. We conceded 50 points. I recall it was in 2021, I believe. So once again, well, how we are going to handle that pressure, and in the sense that New Zealand will have to rebound, of course, playing at home in Auckland. And well, the second game was finished, I believe, in 30 minutes. You conceded 4 tries in conditions pretty similar to the ones that we played last weekend against Australia over here. So therefore, how you continue now against Australia, which is a team that is rebuilding itself with a new head coach, of course, very good one, but well, it takes time, as we know, and against a team that has experience, but as well, a lot of inexperienced players as well. Yeah. So for Argentina, I believe it was a great start of the game. As I mentioned, very disciplined, clinical, present in defense without conceding penalties. You scored both times you went on to 22 meters of Australia, and suddenly, even in the second half, you were, I believe it was 16-7 ahead. Yeah. Australia had the ball but didn't find space, and suddenly, well, I believe it was the try of who scored the second try of Australia?
Rob Valentini.
Rob Valentini. But well, you had a penalty, so you put yourself above in the scoreline once again. And at the end, I think it was lack of management of the team. But well, thumbs up to Australia in the sense of they never seem to be like, I don't know, per moments you could see Australia in the past years with a game like this one trying to do something out of the box. I believe that Australia kept on with the game plan and playing in the same way, and at the end it was too tough to handle for Argentina. You could see defensively we weren't as sharp as the beginning because, of course, you played a lot of the game defending. So you could see Australia winning that extra meter, and they know that Argentina, if they got penalized, you had the penalty at the end to win it. Yeah. So that's one thing that I believe that Australia had composure in that. Argentina didn't, and I think that's the key why Australia won at the end.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because coming off the bench for Argentina is Augustin Creevy, it's Guido Petty. There's it's not like there's a lack of experience there. So it was just interesting to see how, as you say, in that last 20 minutes, effectively, it just wasn't quite there. And compared to how they were so clinical in Wellington to close out that game in the last 20 minutes, they basically deprived New Zealand of the ball, Harry, in that last 20 minutes, didn't they? And it just wasn't there this time.
It shows what Argentina is capable of, though. I had a golf coach once told me, play 2 balls from every tee and finish out each hole, and then take the best score of each ball, and then that'll tell you what you're capable of doing. Because if you can do it, you can do it, right? Yeah. It's almost like Argentina has specialized in the good match, bad match, which Wallaby fans are also well familiar with.
Yes.
But getting out of that and actually saying, just because we beat New Zealand, which is one of the greatest feats and achievements of Argentina rugby, but to do it that way, like really put them away, there was no question about it.
And for the second time in 3 years.
Right, and then to believe that you could follow up. And I think this is linked with belief. I think Sia Khaleesi and the guy at the Springboks said, we were down 10 with 11 to play, but we've been in worse spots. And so you still exited with a kick. You didn't try, like to Cello's point, you didn't try to run it out. You actually played territory. Rugby is such a space and time game. 11 minutes is an eternity. You cannot sit on a lead. And so I thought it was almost like, Brett, your tactic for the Wallabies is to have a new captain every single week, and then Argentina keeps the same captain for 100 tests. But
a shout out to Harry Wilson and his unbeaten record.
I don't know what Harry Wilson does. I mean, I don't know what he did besides saving a try with an incredible tackle, but there was a feeling that Australia was not going to try and win the match all at once, which I think was the key.
Yes, I believe so too. There was a clear game plan, and I believe you played all the conditions in the sense of when you kept possession of the ball, you can see there the hand of Joe Smith with short passes, very direct rugby, very physical. The forwards trying to play really direct and create speed of ball to Jake Gordon, I believe it is the 9. Yep. You have an experienced number 12, but I believe he played really well with Ikitau. I believe that there was clinical rugby from Australia, and as you just mentioned, constructive in the sense that it seems that every player knew its role in the game.
An example that is 27 phases, Cello, 27 phases which came to nothing, but actually it does come to something.
Yes,
if you play 27 phases and you make someone tackle that many times, later in the game, their legs are gone. Yeah.
Well, and we talked about this on I don't know. I've lost. We talked so much. I'm losing track of when we
No,
spoke.
I was going to say the try of Wright. That try is something that Harry mentioned before, because you start to lose focus in the decision making. There was a prop next to the rock. He started to run sideways. Wright was hidden just behind the rock, and there was the space. So when you make another team tackle those many times in a point, you start to create some fatigue, tiredness. The decision making isn't as sharp as the beginning, and at some point it's going to crack.
Yeah, by halftime, Argentina had made more than twice as many tackles, I think, as Australia had. So
really?
and a lot of that obviously is that first 10 minutes when they made 30 or 40 tackles in the first 10 minutes, and Australia hadn't made one. So it was.
Was it very windy, Cello, at the grounds? It seemed like it might have been a big shift as well from first 40 to second 40.
Totally. That's why I was very not surprised, but I was saying Australia playing really well because the conditions were very challenging for the players because it was very windy. The weather and the rain was there as well. We were expecting this on Friday, Saturday, even yesterday. Is the storm of Santa Rosa that it's always coming at the end of August, and it came on Friday. So the conditions were so challenging for the players. That's why I thought, wow, Australia, even that, they kept with that game plan, playing very short, direct rugby, and they were very good at it.
The consistency thing that you talk about, Marcello, and it's something that the notion of being consistently inconsistent is something that I think has plagued Argentinian rugby as much as it's plagued Australian rugby over the last 20 years. And I think even going back to when you played, that would be something you would say that you guys were guilty of as well.
Totally. We are on emotional side, I believe, of course.
Yeah.
We know that we are capable of competing against the best ones in a good day. But I think that consistency in international rugby, of course, is very difficult. If you see nowadays, who are the consistent nations in the sense of performance? I believe it's France, Ireland, South Africa.
Yeah.
Nowadays, New Zealand in performance, I don't know. You could tell against Argentina, they weren't as good as, I don't know, other years before. So it's very difficult to reach that consistency in performance in international rugby. Even though that, Argentina, we are seeking for that. It's not that we want the team to win every game. Of course, it would be ideal. But at least if you lose a game, lose it in your terms, losing being competitive in the day.
Yeah.
South Africa, perhaps if they lost against New Zealand, they could probably lose last weekend, but they are still in the game. They are still competitive. Of course, you have to fix mistakes for the next game, but the performance is there still. Argentina, I believe, is tough for them because if you go to the basis of the game, scrumming, lineouts, I believe is quite consistent, but scrumming, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And the emotional side as well of Argentina, I believe it is to, you have to shift into a mentality to say, you know what, we are a team that we are capable of competing against the best ones. And we are going to, follow this game plan, follow the way that we play. I believe it's something from that side. It's hard to tell because I'm not inside the walls and what is going on day by day. But I believe it's something like that because when they are on in any given day, they can compete against anyone. So
it feels like it's a real generational shift because the scrum used to be literally the backbone of Argentinian rugby. Yet at the moment, your prop stocks particularly seem like they're a little bit on the light side, and like that's an Australian saying that. It's not like we're blessed with incredible prop depth at the moment.
I agree, and I think it's a thing that brings you into a bigger discussion in the sense of how we handle even props and the scrum today in the amateur rugby as well. Because, in amateur rugby nowadays, you can't push more than 1 meter. So imagine the props coming from that when they are in the ages of 15, 16, 17, suddenly they go to first division with this rule. I think this rule, in the bigger picture, I believe it takes a toll in the scrum for Argentina. Of course, for the Pumas, you see the props playing professional rugby, and the scrum is not like that. But I believe when you see that in the rules within Argentina, for sure it has an impact afterwards in the big picture and in the national team. So yes, it's something that we are talking about it. Of course, you want a safe scrum because we had some injuries in amateur level the past years that brought this into discussion, and that's therefore why there were some changes in the rule. But I believe for a prop that it's aging to scrum in these conditions, I don't know if you take the best of them. And suddenly when they get into the max level, they don't have quite experience as the props that we had years ago. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's one of the things. The other one, I don't know, you have to be inside. Perhaps it's a lack of, of very good props itself in the sense of the scrum. But I don't know, I doubt. We have a lot coming from behind. There's something over there that is quite not there. And there's big discussions about it.
That's very interesting, Cello, and the hit, which used to be violent in the old days, was taken away by the rules, but it's kind of creeping back in. The hit looks different now, but the hit is back, and it is so. So once you're set, there's much more of a force now than there was 4 or 5 years ago, and so that's another reason why it's hard to catch up. But actually, Cello, I blame this loss of the Pumas on my co-host, Brett, because what we did is we did a reverse draft, and we said, if you could pick a couple of players from another team, you're not dissing your current player, but I feel like Len Ikitau felt dissed by his fellow Brumby man, and he made a personal mission to run over Santiago Chocobares, because that's who Brett picked and said, I would love Chocobares in the squad.
I did say I was playing Santiago at 12, to be fair, and Hamish Stewart on debut shut him down. Like that was an unbelievable performance from Hamish Stewart.
Yeah, Charlie, right. you were a midfielder. Talk about that fascinating battle, because I actually thought that was going to be Argentina's trump card, and it might be in the rematch. Who knows? But talk us through that midfield, because Santi Chocobares has been right up there with the best.
I agree. And it's a player with conditions that we didn't have before, I believe, in that position, in the jersey number 12. He's big guy, very physical, very strong. And I believe that he's improving in his technical aspects as well of the game, in the sense that he's in a club like Toulouse, not only winning trophies, but competing and playing sometimes from the start. And earning a spot in a team like Toulouse is always going to be challenging and tough, but he earned it, and he's improving in his game, in his vision of the game, the decision making. So yes, he's a very good player for us nowadays. Sinti, on the other hand, he's playing in Saracens. He's quite big as well. He has a lot of physical and technical conditions, but I don't think that yet we see the best out of him. Right. I believe, he played the last World Cup as a starter. We expected more from him. I think he needs more game time, more experience. But next to Chocobares, of course, I think it's the pair that is going to play for the next, 5-10 years if there's no one else coming from behind. But the other day I thought at the same that we had a good chance there in the number 12 jersey against an inexperienced player. But I believe Ikitau and Stewart did really well. Ikitau, he was very good.
Ikitau was fantastic.
He was carrying the ball, making some yardage, putting Australia forward,
busting tackles
as well. Yeah. It was interesting, yes. I agree with you guys.
Whoever Eddie Jones didn't pick for the World Cup last year is phenomenal. Harry Wilson, Ikitau, just good on the list.
yeah, that's true.
What's the name of the number 7 of you guys that he's
Carlo Tizzano? Yeah, he was exceptional. He made another 22 for no misses. 1-2 really, really important turnovers in the second half. By my count, he's made 54 or 5 tackles in 3 tests now and hasn't missed one.
Hasn't missed one.
Hasn't missed one yet.
Carlo Tizzano, it could be an Argentinian Italian guy. You might have should have picked him.
Yes,
he was great. But again, Harry, the week before on Rugby Pass, I talked about the fact that he was making so many tackles, but wasn't really getting much chance to play on the ball. But this time around, all of a sudden, Bell and Salakai Loto and Harry Wilson all made double-digit tackle counts themselves. Hamish Stewart made 10 or a dozen out wide as well. And so Tizzano's 22. All of a sudden, that defensive load was shared, and Tizzano had his moments where he could actually have a bit of a crack at the ball.
And there's a shape of that, there's a shape of organizing your loose trio where you don't want a Kremer. You want a Kremer to be the tackle monster, but you might want Juan Martin Gonzalez to be a little more free, and then you want Matera to be the link man. So there's a setup there, and I think Tizzano was better used this time. So I think he just did whatever he was supposed to do every time. But I think the shape of it was more like you can hang off, you can pick your moments. And that's looking like a decent strength because Fraser McWright would have been about 17 miles ahead of him starting out. And now you have, some choices there. You have some depth, dare we say.
Now it's feeling like, it's Hooper and McWright all over again. It's, going back to the days of, Colby Fainga and Geordie Reid down at Melbourne Rebels. And there was a really good 7 in all 5 teams. And Tizano's just getting better and better every week. And now it sort of feels like, maybe they don't have to rush McWright back because they've got a guy here that's just going nuts and he's having a great time of it.
So Cello, where do you see the adjustment factor? For all the talk of, we knew that Argentina has always been an emotional team. I knew that particularly when they said Michael Cheika brought structure and order. I thought that guy's crazy. If he's seen as an emotional, but passion can help you in revenge games. If you say I was embarrassed, we're embarrassed in our country. We've got to do better. That can really help a player. How do you see the bounce back happening, and where do you see it coming from within the Pumas?
I don't know if the word is embarrassment for Argentina in the sense of the performance last weekend. Of course, you know that you missed a good opportunity of beating Australia. I think it's that more than the embarrassment. Of course, as you just mentioned, we are passionate and emotional side, of course, and that always brings the best out of us, but as well the worst in the sense of the structure, the game plan. I believe Argentina, we'll see the conditions next week. They're going to play in Santa Fe, which is always warm over there. If it's a good week, and I believe it's going to be, I think that we're going to see more possession Argentina trying to keep more possession of the ball as they tried against New Zealand. I believe the game plan is going to be slightly different in that sense. But on the other hand, I don't see a lot of changes in the side. There's Basan Vélez that is not going to be in the squad, and Kubeli it's been recalled.
Thomas Kubeli coming back.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He played the MLR this year. He played last week.
Miami, I think. He was with the new team, wasn't he? Yeah.
He played last weekend for his old amateur club. I know that because we are from the same club. So I saw him playing. I watched him playing. Yes, I don't know if he's going to be in the starting team, but he's in the squad with other 2 scrum halves. We'll see if he plays. So I don't know if we are going to see a lot of changes in the starting 15. But I think that in the sense of the game plan, yes, I believe Argentina will try to keep more possession of the ball and play through phases. Argentina didn't play bad. I think both teams played quite decent in the sense of the weather and the conditions and where they come from. The thing is that, Australia beat us at the end. So I think Argentina has more pressure now to try and beat Australia once again. But for Australia, on the other hand, you see, if we beat Argentina twice away and seeing where we come from, that could be a lot of
huge
confidence and momentum to you guys. So I expect a very, tough game once again and quite narrow. We'll see.
They might not know what to do in fine weather with blue skies above them because both of them have played in horrible conditions for the last 2 games. So they won't know what to do with molded studs and
it's dry hands. It's all to play for. If Argentina wins, has bonus point wins in the remaining 3 rounds and denies the Springboks losing bonus point, they win the rugby championship. It's easy. Come on.
So what you're talking about now is South Africa losing twice with conceding a bonus point, home and away over the last 2 rounds. That's actually
mathematically possible. It's mathematically possible.
Or South Africa beating New Zealand with bonus point and being already champions of the rugby championship
this weekend. Exactly.
Don't say that. Don't talk about it. We'll
also mathematically possible.
So, Cello, is Santa Fe, forgive my ignorance, is Santa Fe at altitude? Where is it located?
No, Santa Fe is around 250, 300 kilometers from Buenos Aires. You can go by bus or a flight to Paraná. That is an hour flight and a short drive after to Santa Fe. Yes, I'm heading over there on Friday. I will be there for the weekend, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed you get to work on the tan, mate.
Yes, we'll see. No, I will be there for the emission here in Argentinian television. So, well, I've been before in the one against New Zealand when we beat them. So hopefully I bring the luck once again.
Good luck.
You're
Good luck,
trying to take the
Charm.
credit for it. Yeah, gotcha.
No. We'll see. But well, no, in the sense of the game, and well, talking about Australia once again, I see a more composed and mature team already in a few games. No, so I believe that you guys in Australia are pretty excited about what you are seeing once again. Of course, you have to demonstrate week in, week out, no? Because if you lack consistency in the next weekend and you play badly, of course, it's once again the same question marks. Are we in the right direction? But well, I believe that both teams are in a similar phase of where they're trying to build onwards.
It's interesting because I look at Argentina in July and they were a bit up and down against France and then absolutely thumped France in the last game, didn't they? Like properly thumped them. So, you know, as you say, they can absolutely do it and then come to New Zealand, absolutely do the job on them then. And then, as you say, it's that roller coaster of consistency.
Totally, it's very interesting as well, Cello, the models. So you have South Africa with most of its players at sometimes overseas or spread out throughout the world. Argentina, obviously the same. Then you have the Irish and New Zealand models where everyone plays just in a few clubs. They all know each other really well, and their coaches get orders from NZRU. But it's interesting because when you actually look at how the results are going, it's difficult to know which one works. When you look at Australia, which is debating, does Australia need more overseas players? Does it not? Does it not? And the arguments kind of just go on and on and on. But how do you see that? How is Argentina managing that? And do you think it's possible for Australia to use more of its talent?
We are in the same spot, I believe. Of course, for Argentina was a big blow to not be involved anymore in the Super Rugby, because when we had the Jaguares playing the Super Rugby, you had a lot of Argentinian players playing inside your country, and you could manage the loads of the Super Rugby Championship and the second part of the year in the international side. So you could manage the players, the loads, the energy, etc., etc. Now, all of them are most of all based in Europe. So once again, we came back to the old structure. But well, when we had that old structure, when we recall the rule after 2015 that only players based in Argentina could play, if you see the performance of the national team up to 2019, and even though with that World Cup, we weren't good enough because, well, with that rule, you couldn't call players playing in Europe. So you have to see inside your own union what is going on, the depth that you have. Australia has, of course, 4 or 5 teams, professional teams playing Super Rugby, and a lot coming through them. So you have a lot to take on. Argentina doesn't have that. So I believe that as saying that, you need to maximize all that you have. And I believe that when you perhaps call a player that is playing in another hemisphere or team, and you call him back, it brings you more into the depth of the squad. It brings you players playing in different styles of rugby, structures against other players and teams that you know how they build in the sense of any game during the year. For me, when you have more of all of that, you have more in the sense of quality. I don't know. Look at South Africa. South Africa, whenever they started to call other players and even players going to play into Europe, I don't know. I think they maximize both strategies in the sense of, I don't know, you have the best inside, you have others playing in Europe, and I don't know.
No.
It's a diversity of IP, isn't it?
It's the thought, it's the mental. And what we experienced the most, South African, I'm thinking of this from our standpoint, was reading the referees got better. You looked at the game between New Zealand and Springboks on this weekend, and it seemed like the All Blacks were the ones stuck and not able to adjust. And if you have guys playing in Japan and Ireland and France and England, you could just go, okay, Andrew Brace, fit into that. And that was always a Springbok weakness, was non-ability to react to the ref. That's flipped around. You see Argentina has some of the best players from each of their clubs, but they're from different leagues. You have Montoya playing Leicester Tigers. You have, like you said, Chocobares in the French. You have Boffelli playing in Scotland. You have all these different ways. It's actually an asset, no?
Yeah.
No, I believe so too. Yes.
Yeah. What has the loss of the Jaguares done for the local pathways? Because obviously, having a professional team based in Argentina was something that local players could see and touch. So, what has losing that step done for the game locally there?
It was a massive blow because, as you just mentioned, Brett, it was the pathway before playing international rugby, perhaps. Now the pathway is you play amateur level over here, which is quite a good tournament, good quality. And if you are called to play with the union, you have two teams now that are semi-professional in a way. That are Pampas and Logos. Pampas, it's a team based in Buenos Aires. Logos is a team based in Cordoba. Both teams represent the Argentinian region, and they play the Super Rugby Americas. Super Rugby Americas is a tournament that lasts for 5 months at the beginning of the year, and it's played in Chile, in Paraguay, Brazil
as well,
Uruguay. There's 7 teams plus 5 teams plus the 2 teams of Argentina, and the best amateur players will play in these 2 teams. But when you see the level, is miles off of an international scene or even Jaguares before. So you don't know if those players, even the best ones, are already ready in a way to play in international scene. So it's quite challenging. And the best ones.
Some of your guys are playing in MLR now too. There's a
lot going up there now, isn't there?
The Dallas Jackals. The captain is a former Argentina age group captain. Is that something that you're looking at long term, or do you want to stick with the people staying at home?
We are looking long term in that sense, of course, in the sense of the region. MLR, I had the chance to watch a lot this year. The level as well is not we had a lot of players playing in the Miami Sharks this year, so that's why we followed a lot. And it's a new team that is rebuilding, but when you see the whole level of the MLR, is lacking, of course, quality for players to really improve. In the sense of the athletic or the physical side, it's a step up, of course. But in the sense of the quality of the game, I don't know if it's really rich in the sense of a player going over there and improving a lot as a rugby player. But it's building, and when we see MLR thinking about improving the game and they have the assets and the economical side, hopefully it's going to improve. But in Argentina, what we are trying to achieve is having another 1 or 2 more teams like franchises playing in this regional tournament. Hopefully we have that, so we can give more players more time in this tournament, which is a step up of amateur rugby, but still is not the same. So it's quite challenging. Jaguares is going to come back or not? That's another question mark, which is difficult to, I don't know, think about it, because South Africa is already in the north, Australia and New Zealand are in the other side. So
could the Jaguares play MLR? Could that be an option?
Could be, but I don't know. You have to think about the economical impact of Jaguares. MLR, you have to go and see yourself living in the US, somewhere over there. I don't know in which.
Yeah, you have to base it. Yeah.
Basically, you need the economical and the sponsors go over there. Economically, it's going to be worth it or not, because we know that as well. The budget is important, and what happens and the impact that creates in the union. I don't think that. I don't see that happening. At the time, we thought about a team playing, I don't know, in top 14 or in the Celtic League, based in Spain. But I believe the same economically.
Same issues,
Same issues.
Yeah. Harry could make a couple of phone calls and make it happen. I'm sure. Anyway, we'll see. Yeah,
Cello, I didn't want to ask you, not for a prediction, not like who's going to win by how much, but just what style of game do you think? What do you predict this week coming up for Wallabies, Pumas? Is it a high-scoring game? Do you think it's another one of those tough ones? What do you think is going to shape?
I think it's going to be pretty tight. Argentina will back themselves in keeping possession more of the ball. I believe that they will try that at least. But I think I see like a pretty similar style in the sense of playing with ball in hand, but not from everywhere. And Australia nowadays, I'm seeing quite the same in the sense of more composed, with Gordon and Lolesio as well, more mature, I believe, as a rugby player as well. There was one pass at the end of the second half, I believe
to Nick Frost. Yeah, it didn't go well.
That didn't go well for you. That created a penalty, and I believe that because of that penalty, we went on to 1917. But I see a more mature team in that sense, playing to the strengths. So I believe that both teams will aim to keep possession and play in the right areas of the field. I see both teams more not physical, like more not composed. I don't reach the word in English.
Tight, like a tighter play.
Defensively, as you just mentioned before, Australia, I see defensively they're really good nowadays as well. So I don't know. I see a pretty tight game. I don't know what you think, guys.
My gut feeling is that it might actually be fairly high scoring, because it will be dry. It will be a fast track, you would think. So I think both teams will want to throw it around. So it actually wouldn't surprise me if it's a 35-31 type game. It could really open up. It could be really entertaining.
I'd say if that happens, Brett, who do you think that favors? Because I would say if that happens, it favors Argentina.
It could do. It could do.
Fractured play,
The bounce back factor alone makes the Pumas really, really dangerous this weekend. A week ago I wouldn't have entertained the thought of winning twice in Argentina, but now it's a very real possibility. But with that comes the very real likelihood that the Pumas are really, really dangerous this weekend, and they're going to be really, really hard to beat. So you're right. It could easily be 12-10. They could both really just shut up shop. And so, I don't know. It's one of those games where it could go either way, and the contest will be great because of it.
It's crazy because before the two games here in Argentina, we were saying we always respect the Wallabies, 2 times champions of the world, but actually
we're going to beat them twice.
Challenging. Yes, but we have a real chance and opportunity playing at home to beat them twice. So now, miss opportunity, and perhaps now it's a big opportunity for you guys to take. Wow, we can take 2 games in Argentina. Look where we come from, and we are building towards something. So there's a big opportunity, I believe, for you guys. I believe the pressure now is more in Argentinian shoes than in the Wallabies.
Are you trying to claim the underdog status now, mate?
Yes.
Is that what you're doing?
We feel very good when we are the underdogs. Yes.
You've been listening to Harry too much, mate. You've been listening to Harry too. Now, if you could just maybe not take all of your luck to Santa Fe, I want your team to do well, but maybe don't take all your luck, mate. That would be just great. It's been fantastic to talk to you again, mate. It's been great to reconnect with you. I hope it's a really, really enjoyable game this weekend for both of our sakes.
I hope so too, and Harvey, enjoy yourself over there in Cape Town. Have a great one.
Yes. Cheers, Cello.
Good on you, mate.
Guys.
Good to talk to you.
Take care.
This is the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast with Brett McKay and Harry Jones, and mate, just wonderful to welcome back Marcello Bosch. That was I say it every time we speak to Cello. It's such a great chat. I love it.
Senor Bosch is one of the nicest guys in world rugby. Like, we do get to know people on this thing because we go off, we go offline and we still have a chat. He's the same. He's the same both ways.
Exactly
He's not a performer. He's actually like this interesting and this funny. No, this is a great match around. And also wanted to make sure everyone knew that I can talk about a team besides the Springboks for a while. So this was kind of cool.
Yeah, tone down the arrogance, mate.
Yeah, someone posted, I oozed utter arrogance. I'm like, okay, well, sorry.
No, that's a natural thing.
It's my natural state of being. But I would say that anyone you're following a team where it's having this much good fun, you're going to talk about it.
It's a bit hard not to. Exactly. Now, we did actually have intentions of talking about South Africa and New Zealand a little bit, but we might hold that for games of the week later in the week and get into that. It's interesting all of a sudden that Russie's not naming his team on Tuesday morning like he has been. He's going to hold off until Thursday. So there's a bit of shenanigans going on already this week.
I do love how he creates something that inherently favors the opposing team, and everyone's taking it as like, oh, you're not allowed to wait till Thursday. Like, he can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you go back to naming teams 2 days early, right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a funny one. A quick whip around the grounds, mate. Pacific Nations Cup round 2 last weekend. Samoa beat Tonga 43-17 in Apia. The USA beat Canada 25-15 in California. Samoa, I think, might be 2 from 2 in that now. I've lost track of the table, I must admit. I'll be better next week, I promise. In the Curry Cup, alert, Western Province had a win. So are you interested again?
No, that didn't happen.
Beat the Pumas 39-13. The Lions thumped the Bulls 57-33 in the top of the Bulls.
That was true. I saw that. Yeah.
You saw that one? Yeah. So they both lead their respective pools by a margin. The NPC in New Zealand, Hawke's Bay, Wellington and Tasman are all still unbeaten after 4 rounds as well. So that's it's going along nicely there. I did see a bit of Tane Edbed on the weekend.
Does not look bad, doesn't he?
Does not look bad at all.
When you watch those games, you realize how much quality is on the pitch. It's All Blacks everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and there's about a dozen Australian players over there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ben O'Donnell's running around on the wing for Hawke's Bay and making highlight reels every week. So we will be back with games of the week later in the week as the Rugby Championship continues with round 4 this weekend coming. And then the Test match postmortem is back in the early hours, I suppose, for Sunday, Australia and New Zealand time. With our
I love those. I love postmortems. They're so challenging, so weird. Like I said, I'm having
conversations. Challenging last week.
I have to make up what you're saying because I'm like looking at your movement of your lips and going, he said something about this.
It was a throwback to the World Cup final in France where you probably heard about a quarter of what we said. But anyway, we got through. Either way, make sure you like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen to us and wherever you watch us. Make sure you don't miss a single moment throughout the tournament. The biggest headlines of the last 7 days, mate, as I mentioned, Rusty Erasmus is not going to name his team so early this week. He's going to hold off. So there's something funny going on there. Interesting report over the weekend. A South African city is unlikely to host the Champions Cup final anytime soon, simply because it's just too expensive. There was reports over the weekend that European Professional Club Rugby, the European governing body, had representatives in Cape Town over the weekend, a meeting put on, I think, by the South African Union as well. And the adjudicators for the city politely turned down the EPCR's princely sum of $16 million to host the final. And I assume that's US dollars?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not surprising. The South African economy is what it is. But considering South African teams still can't play knockout finals in South Africa, it seems actually a bit rich to me that European rugby would saying, hey, do you want to host the final? I mean, sure. Can we play a semi here first?
Yeah.
It's got to go both ways, isn't it?
To be fair, the Irk's had a South African team in the finals for 3 years in a row, and when it's been in South Africa, we lost, and when it's been out of South Africa, we won. So
they won, true.
Maybe it's better to play at some place like Twickenham or whatever Twickenham's called, because basically it's packed with Saffas anyway.
Yeah, true. One other curious one that has popped up as well, South African rugby have reportedly made a formal request of World Rugby to investigate Australia's injuries that led to uncontested scrums in Perth.
Yeah.
I mean,
so my position on that is, I said this from the start, is, it's almost like you have everything in the world going your way, and you don't want to you don't want to mess around with someone who's just struggling to get by. Because the Wallabies are sort of rebuilding, and world champions are flying high. That being said, there were some things that came out that made it. They did the right thing, which is if you're gonna say something about it, then file a request, which is basically produce the medical records. This is something that all teams are wondering about. It goes back to the English game where there was this switcheroo, Bloodgate, and everyone's always wondering, are you gaming the system? I think the bigger question is, why is there such lack of clarity around what happens when certain things happen? You looked at it from injury reversals, HIA reversals. Now you look at the shot clock. Why can we not get just a clearer set of rules around rugby? Can we make it less complicated? Can it be where everyone, the fans and the referees, always know exactly what's going to happen? Oh, this happens, do this.
Yeah.
Joe Schmidt said it was the most confusing test match he'd ever been a part of.
It's bizarre, he said. Yeah.
And now you have this freaking shot clock situation where you have Ben Donaldson basically, you need a decision clock. Like, wait, from the time that you tell me it could be a shot, how long do I get to say before I say it's a shot?
Yeah.
And then it becomes kind of ludicrous. Yeah.
I mean, look, I hope World Rugby come to Rugby Australia and Rugby Australia go, here you go, 3 failed HIA reports. What more do you want? Because that should be the end of it, to be honest.
I'm not sure it's going to go back that way.
We'll see. But you do make a good point about, there's if anyone can do fast, it's international.
We are the craziest sport. We are literally our own worst enemies most of the time.
We really are. There's no doubt about that. Final thoughts for the week?
Oh, I'm just in the throes of this 2-game series. I'm having such a good time. Pretoria is one of those places where growing up, it was revenue. Pretoria is one of those places I grew up thinking nothing happens there. Let me tell you, there's quite a vibe here, and then the vibe's about to go up several notches back home. Yeah. No, good. No, I'm glad that I'm funding your. Also, happy anniversary, happy birthday, happy Father's Day, happy everything. You're having all these things at once.
There is lots of anniversaries and birthdays overlapping in our world, so happy everything to all that celebrate them.
The bloody happy day.
Happy day.
Announced, I'm having a pretty bloody happy day.
I was, and I did. I did have a very good day on Sunday. A very nice Father's Day, in fact. But that then is episode 30 of the 8-9 Combo done. Check the show notes for the links to the 8-9 Combo on Twitter and on YouTube, where you can find video versions of the podcast every week, including an exclusive little mini post-mortem after the Wallabies and Argentina from the weekend as well. And we have more than doubled our subscriber base over there on YouTube since the start of the Rugby Championship. So thank you to everyone who has jumped on board. And if you can leave us a rating or a review wherever you can, it all helps. And if you are following us on Spotify, make sure you jump into your settings and set your auto download to on as well, and then you won't miss anything there. Harry and I remain on the socials in our usual places at Harry Baldy Jones and at BMC Sport, and you'll find links on our socials for Harry's stuff on the Raw a couple of times a month, and my Australian columns on Rugby Pass as well. Also on rugbypass.tv, head there, sign up for free, and you can see the original 2019 series of Chasing the Sun, the documentary series celebrating South Africa's Rugby World Cup win in Japan, which is currently available, and with the 2023 series Chasing the Sun 2 coming very, very soon. Sign up for free and watch it wherever you are in the rugby world. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realise you needed, coming from the podcast Double Act you already had. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones. And we'll be back in your ears in a few days' time with another Rugby Championship edition of Games of the Week.
Come be pretty bloody happy and humble with us.
This is the 8-9 Combo Podcast with Brett McKay and Harry Jones.